This is David with the Paranormal Sessions podcast. Today I wanted to talk about the 4 levels of evil because I think there might be some confusion about some things. So, of course, the first level is Lucifer, the devil, which, of course, everybody would automatically assume that's, the most powerful of anyone, which, of course, I agree. So I'll immediately move on to the next one. So the second level, and a lot of people might not be aware of this, and I wasn't either. Most people would assume that demons are like second in their power, and that's what I always believed in up until last fall, where I actually encountered a shadow person. Now, I had read some articles about it, and I thought, it can't be all this bad and things. And so I started doing some research. And according to the shadow person, this entity started back when time began. And from what I could see, it was primarily like in the Middle East, somewhere in that area. But, but I've read some other stories too that they said, it wasn't there. But so that's, in dispute. But I encountered a shadow person last fall, and the way I saw it, and a lot of people might not be aware of this, but mirrors are gateways, and that's how evil will move oftentimes. And so one night I'm laying in bed and I'm ready to lay down, and for some reason I look at my bedroom mirror and I see this solid black person that looks like he's maybe, I don't know, maybe like 30 feet away on the other side of the mirror, and he's running, and then he starts running towards me, and I can tell, he's going to keep coming at me. And so, I had my exorcist ring on, and so I put that out, and it stopped. And I thought, okay, that's the end of the shadow person. Well, a few days later, I wake up and I feel this pain on my this heaviness on my chest, and I'm having some trouble breathing. And then finally I kind of cough, and then I figure, maybe I had a bad dream or whatever the case might be. So I don't think anything else about it. Well, the second time it did it, and it was a little bit worse than the first time. And it took a little while for me, to get my breathing back. And I thought, maybe I should go see my doctor or something like this. Well, I think it was about 2 days later, it happens again, and I'm still not connecting it to the shadow person. Because I thought, I saw him in the mirror, but, I was wearing my exorcist ring, and then he turned away, and I figured, okay, that's the end of it. So the third time happens, and I'm laying in bed, and it's really bad. This is the worst it's been. And I started thinking, maybe I had a heart defect or something that I wasn't aware of, and, this is my time to pass on. And the reason I thought that is, and these are primarily for the newer followers, is I got hit by a car when I was 5 years old. I should have died. Then I was in a bus crash out of state when I was 15, and I should have died. So I always thought any time after age 15, this is all extra for me because I shouldn't even be here now. So after the pain kind of goes away, I lay back in bed, and I'm not angry or upset. I'm not happy that I think I'm going to pass on. I just laid back in bed. I told God, hey, if this is my time to go, it's my time to go. I lived longer than I should have, because I should have initially died when I was 5 years old. So I lay back in bed and I'm relaxed. I'm totally at ease that, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not complaining or, saying that my life's ending too soon. I just figure, okay, this is my time. So I lay back in bed, and the pain finally starts going away, and I start feeling better. And I thought, if this is some kind of like heart defect or something else, I shouldn't be feeling better now. So I go ahead and make an appointment to go see a doctor. Of course, I can't get in. So the following night, I'm ready to go to bed, and back then, I don't do it as much now, but back then, I look at the bedroom mirror, and I see this like black smoke or something, or like a mist coming into like wherever they're at, and then this person kind of raises up, and it's an angel, and they actually do have feathers, which I don't know, for some reason I kind of thought, maybe they have wings. I figured they had wings, but it's actually like feathers. So they're sitting there fighting back and forth, and I'm thinking, they're doing that for me. Which I appreciate, but in the bigger picture, I would have thought there's a lot more worthy people, for angels, to fight a shadow person than me. But they did, and they fought within the mirror for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then it finally, the black mist or like a fog left, and there was no more angel. And so I've seen demons. So actually, and the second most powerful are shadow persons, because I've seen demons, and the very first time I did them, there was like a white smoke that kind of pushed them out of my bedroom, where in this one, the angel actually had to fight them. So I know shadow person has a lot more power than a demon. Now, of course, demons do have a lot of power, but I never believed that a shadow person would be that powerful, or an angel would have to come to my aid to drive them out. Because I always thought, they're probably making it up, because, sometimes someone will post something and everyone automatically assumes it's true. Well, I don't automatically assume everything. But when I saw that, I go, now I know that they are right after Lucifer or the devil, whatever term you want to use. They're the second most powerful person around. And then there's number 3 would be demons. Now, I was going to discuss skinwalkers, and for people who aren't familiar with skinwalkers, that was, and I've done some research on that as well, that, back, maybe 1,000 years ago, whatever, that there was some kind of curse or something, and they created a man that could actually look like an animal. And so I saw a skinwalker in a vision. I didn't see one, in my bedroom or anything like that, because from everything I've read, skinwalkers only stay within Indian land, because that's who they go after, primarily the Navajos. And everything I've read, the Navajo, the elders, they won't even say the word skinwalker. There's of course, their term that they use in the Navajo language, but they won't even say it, because according to their beliefs, that even if they just say the word or even think about it, that they could be cursed by a skinwalker eventually. And at the time, I didn't even know, in my vision, I didn't even know I was seeing a skinwalker, because I see this, it's out in the middle of out in the middle of like the desert or something. Well, there are some bush too. And I see this man, and he's got like dress pants and a white shirt, and his hair's combed back, and it's like black hair or really dark hair. And then he's walking, and I thought, why is this man walking out of the desert? Maybe he got lost or whatever, or he got mugged and they dumped him out there in the middle of nowhere. So I happened to look at his eyes, and his eyes were huge. They were like, like probably 3 times our size. And I had read that when a person is a skinwalker, a man is going to have the eyes of an animal, and when he's if he's a man, the eyes of an animal, and then it's reverse if he's not. So when I saw that, I realized that skinwalkers do exist, but I only saw it in a vision, because like I said, they're primarily on Indian land, and I've never heard anyone say anything different. So I just have a little bit of information. I never actually saw one up close. I just saw one in a vision. But when I saw, he was in human form with a human eye, with the animal eyes. And when they don't have the animal eyes, then they kind of look like an animal themselves. It's kind of like in reverse. So that's why I just discussed this a little bit about skinwalkers, because I saw one, but it was only in a vision. And from what from my viewpoint within that vision, he was probably, I don't know, maybe 20 feet away, but he was out in the desert or somewhere in Indian land. And so, they're right. I don't know if they're almost as powerful as demons. It's really close. But either way, I wouldn't want to, encounter any of them. So the last one is, it's just evil spirits. Now, some of them are very powerful and some aren't. And what evil spirits do is anytime you have any paranormal activity, the first place you check is like TVs, monitors, computers, surge protectors, light switches, because they're always going to go where the power is, and the more energy they absorb, the stronger they are. And I have one experience from that, well, actually quite a few, but this was probably the best one, is that there was and they looked like two monks from like maybe the 1700s, and they're in my bedroom, trying to terrify me, which they were actually doing a pretty decent job. But one of them would kind of move, smoothly, like not gliding, but with, very, with no resistance, where the other one kind of moved in stages. And I figured out that the reason why he's kind of like a halting, movement is he doesn't have as much power as the other person, because the other one was just moving back and forth. And that was one of the few times that I actually got I could almost say I was almost scared, because the one monk, he had taken off like his, robe or whatever. And when I opened my eyes, his head was probably no more than about 3 inches or 4 inches from my head. But it was like this wind was blowing, and his hair is moving like he's, in an open car driving, 25 or 30 miles an hour. And his head was right next to me. And I have to admit, that I was like really creepy, and I was just a little bit scared, because I never had an evil entity just like within a few inches of my head. So I'll never forget that. But it, I thought about it later on that, why did, this one move in like halting steps, and the other one just kind of like glided, so to speak. And that is because that evil spirit had a lot of energy, and the one who was with him didn't have that much. And so that's why they're always around energy sources. And just to go back, a little bit about the demons that were in my room, when that white smoke, which I assume that was, from the Holy Spirit, wherever, when they were pushing it against the walls, that the two demons were actually in the back of my computer, the TV on my wall. And every time they pushed against the wall, they would kind of stick their heads out, and then they go back in, and then this white smoke pushed even harder, and then they finally came out, and then they went up through the roof. Now, those times that I've seen the demons, they have the faces of gargoyles. Now, I don't know if that was only particular to me, and I assume they can pick any shape they want, but the times I've seen demons, they always had gargoyle faces. And why I just assume all of them have that, but maybe they can, of course, I'm sure they have the power to change their shape and all that. But and it was one of the things I forgot about the demons. I remember I saw a YouTube video about a priest who was an exorcist, and when he had was exorcising a particular individual, he asked this demon, "How many demons are there?" And the demon told the priest, he goes, "There's enough demons to block out the sun," which I'm sure that's the that's the case. That's true. But I always wanted to discuss like these 4 levels of evil, because I always thought it was Lucifer, then demons, and then maybe skinwalkers, and then evil spirits. But when I saw that shadow person, I totally believe now that they're more powerful than demons. They're right behind Lucifer. Not that that's anything to be proud of, but I always thought that people are over exaggerating how much power shadow people are. And after that experience, I go, I'll never doubt it again. I mean, that was when I saw an angel actually fighting them, within the mirror. And it took a little while, like I said, to take a few minutes. I thought the angel automatically just, get rid of them, that's it. But there was actually a fight. I'm sitting there watching this, and as I'm watching this, I thought, why are they fighting for me? I mean, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. But I always wanted to talk about these 4 levels of evil, because everyone thinks that Lucifer, demons, and other things, but it's Lucifer, and then a shadow person, and then demons, and then of course you have your powerful evil spirits. But I always wanted to talk about that because it's people just assume, oh, they're just demons and that's it, but there's a lot more. And in one way I'm glad I saw that, because I had never I thought people are just making this up, or they're over exaggerating these shadow persons. But after my experience, I go, I have no doubts anymore that they do exist. So this is kind of a long video for me, but I wanted to go ahead and kind of bring those up, because if anyone ever mentions to you about a shadow person, that's seriously bad. That's like right behind Lucifer. So I've talked about this before, but I never did it. So I appreciate everyone watching. Thanks.